A man about to serve his sentence carefully hid his savings in the sole of his shoe, hoping this small fortune would help him survive peacefully behind bars as a lone individual. However, the inspecting guards not only confiscated all his cash, but also discarded his worn minus-out shoes. Without anyone to turn to, he was assigned to work in the mechanized textile workshop. Just when he thought he could quietly endure his lengthy sentence, danger crept in silently. Prison bullies attempted to forcibly exchange his sneakers for inferior slippers. When he refused, the inmates immediately assaulted him with fists and kicks. After his shoes were taken, he realized he had become the center of attention. He clearly understood that failing to fight back would make him a target for even more bullying. However, in the unequal confrontation, his attempt to salvage his dignity resulted in an even more severe beating. As he had anticipated, another group came looking for trouble the next day. The person who actively sought him out was Caesar, the leader of the Corsican group within the prison. Caesar explained that without backing in this prison, survival would be impossible. However, such protection came at a price. He would have to carry out a mission for Caesar. Taking someone's life was far beyond his imagination, incomparable to those previous petty disputes. Returning to his cell, he fell into unprecedented anxiety and distress. After prolonged internal struggle, he decided to report this matter to the prison's highest authority. However, after a long wait, what appeared was not the prison warden, but guards who had been infiltrated by gang forces along with Caesar's associates. After further intimidation, he realized he had no way out. Given the urgency of the task, Caesar's subordinates began teaching him the necessary skills, while at night he would repeatedly practice techniques with the weapon. The next day in the workshop, he witnessed a conflict between inmates. After a moment's consideration, he quickly involved himself in the fight, attempting to force Caesar to find someone else for the mission by getting himself placed in solitary confinement. However, this crude ploy had long been seen through by Caesar. After receiving another punishment, he ultimately chose to submit. Through continuous training, he had become proficient at using a blade as a weapon, and this day was the moment to execute the deadly mission. He walked toward Raby's cell with a resolute expression. Upon entering the room, Raby conducted a full body search on him. Only after confirming safety did Raby allow him to sit down. Since the weapon was concealed in his mouth, he tried to avoid speaking. Raby noticed that his gaze kept lingering on the books on the shelf and kindly suggested he participate in the prison's educational training program. At this point, blood was already seeping from his lips, and he could no longer delay. After subduing Raby, he extracted the sharp blade from his mouth. Looking at Raby lying on the ground, his heart filled with fear, but there was no turning back. He could only force himself to face his inner terror. He stood up and placed the blade in Raby's hand to create a false impression. After successfully completing the mission, Caesar's subordinates delivered the promised benefits to him the next day. Despite gaining protection, he still could not escape the psychological trauma of taking another person's life.